Okay, so wow, we've got like this whole treasure trove about Brett Allcroft and Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
Right. It's gonna be fun to like unpack it all. And you know what's crazy is it's not just like kid show stuff, right?
No, not at all.
This is like her whole journey, starting with the love for steam engines and somehow, becoming this TV powerhouse.
It's true. Quite a journey.
It is. And I don't want to spoil too much, but like, did you know she started out making like documentaries about trains?
Yeah, a far cry from children's television. It speaks volumes about her passion, though, doesn't it?
Totally. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder, like, how did that early passion for trains like translate into the Thomas we all know?
Right.
It's not like trains are like the most obvious subject for a kids show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sadly, the news that kind of brought all this to mind is Allcroft's recent passing.
Mm-hmm.
She was 81.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, yeah, and I bet for a lot of people, hearing that news, it just like brought back all these memories of watching Thomas.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and let's go deeper than just those like surface level feelings, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, like, what do you remember, most vividly about Thomas?
Hmm. For me, I think it's a look at the show. Allcroft insisted on using actual models, not animation, which was pretty unusual, especially back then.
Oh yeah,
That tactile quality, the way the light played on the sets, it gave the show a very unique realism, even though it was talking trains.
right.
Really interesting choice.
It did have a special feel, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Wasn't that like kind of a risky move though? I mean, models are notoriously like finicky to work with.
Oh, yeah.
So like, what was the thought process behind using models?
Well, practically speaking, I think models allowed for a level of detail and texture that would have been very expensive and difficult to achieve with animation, back then.
Okay.
But I think it goes a bit deeper than that. Allcroft's background in documentaries probably made her appreciate that realness that models could bring.
Hmm.
Because remember, she was already capturing the beauty of real steam engines in her earlier work.
That's a great point. It's like her love for the subject like bled into every creative decision.
Yeah.
And speaking of capturing the imagination, we got to talk about that theme song.
Oh, yeah.
That just instantly takes you back, doesn't it?
100%.
Like, do you think that song also played a role in the show's success?
Absolutely. I mean, the music is such a key part of the whole Thomas experience. It's catchy, it's whimsical, and it sets the tone perfectly for those like gentle stories.
Yeah.
Very heartwarming.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we've got these like captivating visuals, this memorable music, but we can't forget about the stories themselves.
Oh, of course not.
I mean, it all started with the Railway series
Yeah,
books, right?
exactly. Yeah, written by the Reverend W. Awdry. These books, they introduced Thomas and all his friends to the world,
Yeah.
and Allcroft saw the potential, right, and adapted them for television, being very careful to preserve the spirit of the
Oh,
originals.
that's cool. And bringing a beloved book series to life,
Yeah.
like on screen, that's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Especially like back in the 1980s, which we touched on a bit earlier. It was uh, a very different world in television.
Yeah.
Like, do we know anything about Allcroft's experience, like breaking into that world?
Hmm. Unfortunately, the material you provided doesn't get into specific details about that.
Okay.
But, it's probably safe to say that she faced some challenges. I mean, to not only get Thomas made, but to turn it into this global phenomenon, that says a lot.
Yeah, it does. And think about it. Like, generations of kids were impacted by this show.
It's true.
And it's still going strong today. But it really makes you wonder, like, what is it about Thomas that makes it so timeless?
Well, on a simple level, I think, trains have always been fascinating to kids.
Hmm.
There's just something about these powerful machines, chugging along.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think Allcroft tapped into something much deeper. The stories, while simple, they often explore themes of friendship, responsibility, being helpful. These are all values that resonate with kids, regardless of the time period.
That's true. And maybe it's that combination, like that authentic passion, those smart creative choices, and those timeless stories.
Yeah, maybe so.
It all kind of came together.
Yeah.
It's like she wasn't just creating a show, she was building this whole world.
That's a great way to put it.
And That's pretty incredible.
What it is. It really is. And, thinking about all this, it makes you wonder, like, what is it that sparks that kind of creativity?
Yeah.
Like, what makes certain stories stick with us, you know, for years and years?
Mhm.
Maybe it's worth revisiting some of your favorite childhood stories? What was it about them that made them special? Maybe there's something there waiting to be rediscovered.
Mhm.
Who knows?
That's a great thought.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Right?
But, keep thinking about those stories, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.